त्रिनयनां माणिक्यमौली स्फुरत् तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीमां मीनवक्षोरुहाम् पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नघटस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम् सान्निपातिकज्वर सततज्वर विषमज्वर ग्रह नक्षत्र दोषाञ्चान्या हर हर काली सर सर गौरी गम गम विद्ये आले माले काले बन्धे भज भज विद्ये मख मख विद्ये नाशय नाशय पापम् हर हर दुःस्वप्नम् विध्वंसय विध्वंसय विघ्नविनाशिनि रजनी सन्ध्ये मुन्दुभिनादे मानस्तोषे मानसवेगे शङ्खिनी चक्रिणी वज्रिणी गदिनी शूलिनी अपमृत्युविनाशिनी विश्वेश्वरी द्राविडी केशवदयिते पशुपति सहिते धीममर्दिनि गमनी कामिनी शबरी विराटी वाचक्री ॐ द्रं 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 ॐ द्रं गुरु गुरु
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om, salutation to the masters. So my dear friends, welcome once again to this global festival of yoga celebrating wellness. We've had 1 week of fascinating programs of teachers who have shared with us some very personal stories about their journeys in the yoga world. And today we have with us another very eminent speaker, Professor Mala Kapadia. I will share a few words with her about her to you. But before that, I'd like to invite Malaji to please come on screen. Namaste and Swagatam to you. So Malaji has had a very fascinating journey in various fields of study and research. And in the topic, when we are talking of wellness, Malaji's topic becomes most relevant because what we are going to learn today is on Ayurvedic psychology and heart-centered living. In the morning, we had a session by Acharya Mangalananda, who spoke on Sri Anandamayi Ma and her guidance for sadhana. And he spoke a lot about how important it was to open the heart using the mantra tradition and the kirtan tradition. What we have for you now is a workshop that Malaji will conduct for us. And in this particular workshop, she's going to share give us some very special insights on how Ayurveda, on how the elements basically connect to us and help us understand who we are. And with that understanding, we can live more healthy lives at various levels of our existence. So Malaji and I have had a very interesting co-traveling on this journey of life, where we've intersected at interesting points. So we've intersected once in a workshop for Indian psychology teacher training program. Then we intersected once again in another workshop that she was conducting on Ayurveda psychology. And that's when we said that this session that we have to offer to you has to be something on those lines, because it left such a strong imprint on my mind. And then we met again in another context of Rashtram that she's an intimate part of today. So I'll just give you a brief background about her very eclectic professional career as well. So Malaji says that the self as we understand is xenophobic way of, the self as we understand in xenophobic ways is a body, brain and mind complexity. And so we are going to look at that. Malaji herself is a doctor. She's a director of wellness practice, professor and resident mentor at Rashtram School of Public Leadership. She's the founder of Human Potential Consulting, named Tame the Monkey. I have a lovely big certificate from that workshop that I attended. Malaji was the adjunct professor with SP Jain School of Global Management in Dubai, Singapore, Sydney, Mumbai campuses since 2005 to March 2020. She has a PhD. So when I said she was a doctor, it's a PhD in literature. Her academic journey is through psychology, human resources, yoga, Ayurveda, film and video production. Her career has been through research, education, journalism, human resources, and consulting. So, I mean, what we are going to hear today is going to be a sum total of this diverse background through which she has had her own personal development and that she's going to share with us. Her area of research is Indic wisdom for the betterment of humanity. And Dr. Mala Kapadia has presented and participated in various international conferences and journals. She has been actively involved in sustainable lifestyles and at the moment lives in Nivritti Grama, a sustainable living initiative by Vaidya Grama Ayurvedic Healing Village. So with these words, Malaji, I invite you to take this workshop on Ayurvedic psychology and heart-centered living. Thank you very much for accepting to be with us. I'd like to invite the audience to be active participants because it is a workshop style, unlike the previous sessions, which were more lecture based. This is going to invite your participation. So you've been a fantastic audience so far. We ask you to continue being interactive. So please share your comments, your questions and answers, especially the question and answers in the Q&A box that is there. With these words, I would say, Malaji, over to you. Thank you very much.
Dhanyavad, Anuradha. And before I say anything, pranams to the Guru Parampara. And we have one Guru in common, Anuradha and myself, that is the mother. And I would say more than any other meetings that we have had where our journeys have intersected, that is a more stronger connection, right? Maybe that's the thread which kept on reconnecting us. And it's also very, not surprising, but it's just a synchronicity. I've personally met Ma Anandmayi, and I've had her blessings physically. And I have the chudi that she had given me, you know, so, I mean, your heart just blooms, right? When these coincidences happen, when these synchronicities happen, right? So let's recite a prayer before we get into the workshop. Sahana vavatu, Sahanau bhunaktu, सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै शांति शांति शांति. So pranams to all our gurus, and let's begin this journey. I know many of you would have had this question that what is this Ayurvedic psychology, right? I mean, in a festival of yoga and a festival of wellness that we are talking, where does Ayurveda come in and why the psychology, right? I mean, these two. However, my gratitude to Dr. Ram Manohar P, who just 2 days ago talked beautifully about how Ayurveda precedes yoga. And if we do not have the physical and mental stability to be able to practice yoga, yoga will not even benefit us at any level. However, many of you would still be wondering, because Ayurveda, as a lot of people talk about, is the traditional medicine from India. And that's unfortunately a very limiting understanding. It's not the holistic understanding. When we look at the word Ayurveda itself, it's a Veda, which is the repository of knowledge of Ayu. Ayu means life. And therefore, Ayurveda basically is all about how to live our life. It's a life manual. All of us know that when we buy any new phone, new laptop, we look at the manual, right? You look at all the features. You look at the do's and don'ts. You look at the apps which are inbuilt. You look at the possibility how you can use this instrument better. Unfortunately, in life, when we are born on this planet, though there are manuals available like yoga and Ayurveda, we rarely connect with them to understand what life is. And that's where my own journey, I'm from Bombay basically, now staying in Coimbatore and waiting to shift to Rashram at Sonipat. However, when I did my graduation in psychology, it was with the intention to understand human nature better, understand myself better. However, what I realized that all the curriculum, and unfortunately, even now when I talk to students of Ayurveda, students of psychology in India, they are still studying the same abnormal psychology textbook by Morgan and King, only a different edition, which I studied way back in late 70s. So it's very sad. I was extremely disappointed with the psychology curriculum that was being taught. And also being a devotee of the mother and Sri Aurobindo, and Sri Aurobindo has always said, all life is yoga and yoga is psychology. Therefore, my search for deeper understanding of life and deeper understanding of psychology took me to Ayurveda, because the roots of Ayurveda are all the way back in Atharva Veda. Even in Rig Veda, there are a lot of suktas which refer to human body and human mind. And also in Taittiriya Upanishad, Sankhya Yoga. So Ayurveda takes its roots as a separate science or as a Upaveda from all this lineage of the earlier sciences that were holistic. Now, many of you may think that why haven't we learned psychology from our own Indic wisdom? And one of the reasons is that in India, because we always were interdisciplinary, we always were multidisciplinary, spirituality, philosophy, psychology, quantum physics, they all were part of one text. And there were no separate textbook of quantum theory or psychology. And therefore, anyone who wants to specialize has to really make an effort to go deeper into these sciences and then take out the wisdom that you can weave as a separate stream if at all you want to weave. However, even when you weave it as a separate stream, what happens is that the multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, which are very Western terms, right? Why? Because they have focused, analyzed only something in a very minute part, leaving out the interconnectedness. and we were always multidisciplinary. So when I looked at Ayurveda, I realized that what we call psychology as Manas Shastra, right? The understanding of psyche, knowing your manas or manas. The West is still grappling. Now they talk of positive psychology and emotions, positive well-being. However, they are still struggling to make sense of what this mind is. And what Anuradha referred to as my consulting firm's name, Tame the Monkey. That's where the name monkey comes from, because it's our mind, which is like a monkey. That's what Adi Shankaracharya had said. And he said that our mind is not only like a monkey, it's like a drunken monkey beaten by a scorpion. So imagine how much jumping around the mind has been doing, and more so in today's pandemic times. I mean, we can't not talk of today what the humanity at large or what the entire world is experiencing. However, unfortunately, a lot of negative connotation, lot of negative emotions are being connected with the pandemic times. Even Ayurveda, unfortunately, has got into the race of, introducing medicines that will take care of COVID. Okay, we need medicine when there is illness. That's what even Ayurveda's second part says, that if somebody is ill, the Vaidya should be able to heal them or cure them. However, the first part of Ayurveda is all about Swastha Vritta. How do I remain healthy? And therefore, the entire first of Ayurveda, coming all the way from Taittiriya Upanishad, Sankhya Yoga, is all about understanding self. Who am I? How do I understand myself? And when we look at any book of psychology, we realize that the Western way of even looking at self is very, very xenophobic. When I say xenophobic, unfortunately, it is based on still the Newtonian, very outdated concept, which are mechanistic. The physics in Newton's time said that the entire world, the entire universe is like a big machine, right? And everything is interconnected, but everything works on its own. And they are very mechanical parts of the whole, as if the part has no bigger role or connection with the whole. And now, however, when we look at our Indian perspective from the Vedic psychology, Ayurvedic psychology, we say that the macrocosm, Brahmanda, and Pinda, or the microcosm, is the same. So whatever is there in the universe is there in me. And therefore, I represent the universe. I am the universe, right? There is nothing different between me and the universe. And therefore, even when we want to look at the pandemic times, how do we look at them differently with a new understanding? Because now a lot of people are talking of new normal. The old normal, which was in the management language, a VUCA world, the old ways, or the VUCA world, or the pandemic times that now we are all in, are more of a sickness industry, right? Because health was not about the positive health. Health was all about curing a sickness, the way the psychology was all about pathology and healing or curing a mind which is not normal. So now when we look at the new normal, when we want to create a new normal post-pandemic, during the pandemic times, let's create an understanding of who we are and in a better way. Is my voice better now? Because I got a feedback here that the voice is breaking. Is it more better now without breaking? Clear. Okay, thank you. Dhanyavad. Okay, thank you. Perfect. So let's look at self in a such a way so that all of us are able to reformat our own self. We are able to reformat ourselves, and the way we reformat ourselves is with a better understanding, a deeper understanding, where we don't become a product of who we are, an identity which is stuck, but we become a dynamic flow of life. And that's where I would love to run this as a workshop, as Anuradha rightly said. Let's look at our own self from a more deeper understanding. When we look at ourselves from our own Indian perspective, any answers from your end as to what are we all made up of? What is the entire universe? When we say Brahmand and Pind, macrocosm and microcosm is same. What are we made up of? What is that common stuff which makes us? Anyone, any answers? You can unmute yourself. Yes, 5 elements, Panch Mahabhuta. I can see some of you answering that. And what are those Panch Mahabhuta? Can you give me the order? I want to know the order that you have registered. Anyone? No, it's not sun. Okay, Agni as sun. But air is not the first element. It is the first element.
So we have some orders here. I'll just read it out to you. So we have Sairam ji saying sky, air, Agni, Jalam, earth.
Okay.
Sejal ji saying air, water, earth, space, fire.
Okay.
Sama saying air, then there's Prithvi, elements, Akasha, air, the earth, water, earth, air, fire, space. Honarji is saying Akasha.
Okay.
So we've got a whole variety. Consciousness. Wendy Spencer ji is saying consciousness. So Honarji again is saying Jala. Venkata Subramanian ji is saying Tejas. Smita ji is saying Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, Akasha. Then we have Vayu. So we've got a variety.
Variety of answers. I saw some stardust also. Okay.
Yeah, stardust as well.
Excellent. However, our sciences have been so logical and scientific that Taittiriya Upanishad 2.1.1 Sutra tells you the exact what was the first element and from which successfully which element came. And then Ayurveda connects those elements with our nature, our temperament, our personality, and it also connects with our indriyas or our senses. Because prior to that, before we come to Panch Mahabhuta, let me share with you that why did I even choose, apart from Anuradha loving the session, which she attended long time ago, why did I even re-choose this topic theme today? And what is the relevance in pandemic times? Ayurveda, imagine more than 3,000, 5,000 years ago, whatever the text of oldest Ayurveda texts that are available with us. In Charak Samhita, there is a dialogue, a samvada between Agnivesha and Atreya, Rishi Atreya, about pandemic. Imagine, we think that, oh, in our lifetime, we have never seen pandemic, we have never seen global threat, lockdown, deaths happening, people feeling helpless and negative. However, long ago in Charak Samhita, this is written down as Janapado Dvamsa. Janapad, which is the large population, and Udvamsa, which means their destruction. Now, as I love to call it, is Mahakali's dance, because it's actually destruction that we see at many levels. It's not only killing people, but it's destroying our own belief systems. It's destroying the way we thought is the way of life. However, the way of life that we had come to was very unsustainable. And in Janapado Dvamsa chapter in Charak Samhita, it is very clearly stated that what leads to this. So the first reason is climate change. And climate change at what levels? Vayu, Jala, Desha, and Kala. So there is contamination in air, water, Desha. And when we say Desha, it's not just the geographical Desha, it's also our Deha, which is the geography or the kshetra where we reside. So it's the contamination or vikruti at inner levels also. And then Kala, where we say Kala, it's not just time, but it's the major climate change which is impacting us. Now, what is the reason? Why does this happen? Why has Charak Samhita also mentioned climate change, which now WHO has been talking for a few years about emotional impact of climate change on people. And Charak Samhita says that when majority of people, and this is where our collective way of living is important, when collectively lot of people are leading a dharmic way, the dharma lopa, when people are not following rules of life that are sustainable, then all these four get contaminated, and their contamination leads to pandemic. And what leads to the lopa of dharma? And this is what is written as pragya aparadha, or living against the wisdom. Now, why would you live against wisdom? What is the wisdom? And then when you go back and deeper into Ayurveda, they say that when we are carried away by our indriyas, when we are not able to control our senses, when there is overindulgence in our sensual life at all levels, then we start getting into pragya aparadha, which is living a life which is not sustainable, which is not good for us. So now let's go back to indriya. So what is indriya? How many indriyas do we have? Let's now have a little more interaction before I connect with Pancha Mahabhuta. I will repeat the order. I'll come back to the order. I have not yet repeated the order. Okay, we have 5 indriya is some answer. Pancha indriya or dasa. Okay, yes, thank you. We have 5 karmendriya and 5 or 5 jnanendriya. And manas or mind is called 11th indriya in Ayurveda. Isn't that beautiful? Because without man, all these indriyas will not function. So we'll talk maybe a little of man later. However, let's go back to the 5 jnanendriya, right? What are these jnanendriya? The indriyas or senses that catch information from the outside, right? They make you aware. They give you the gyan. Eyes, yes. Tongue, ears, yes. And skin, yes. Okay, wonderful. So there are 5 of them: eyes, nose, ears, tongue, and skin. And they all are related to Pancha Mahabhutas. So now let's go back to Pancha Mahabhuta and we'll connect and we'll come back to the senses again, because this is the connection. Whenever we have overindulged in our senses, we have not taken care of them in the right way. That overindulgence leads to a life which is pragya aparadha, living against wisdom, which leads to living a adharmic life, unsustainable life. That leads to climate change, contamination, and that leads to pandemic. So let's go back all the way so that we are able to look at pandemic in a very more empowered way. Now let's look at what Taittiriya Upanishad says, and this is the same in Ayurveda and Sankhya. What came first? What was the first element? So even before the entire drama of universe unfolded, there was nothing. And in that nothing was ether, or what we call Akash. So Akash is the first element. From Akash came Vayu. From Vayu came Agni or Tejas. From Agni or Tejas came Apa or Jala. And from Jala came Prithvi. So now all these 5 elements have their own guna or qualities or characteristics. Because they are Panch Mahabhuta, which make up the entire universe and our own self, they are not the utility, right? So when we say Agni, it's not about cooking food. But what is the quality? What is the guna of Agni? Or what is the guna of Jala? So let's look at them individually. So now what I'll do is I want every one of you, because I'm sure you have a pen and a paper with you. If you don't, you can just take very quick break and go and get some paper and pen with you, right? So let's think of only the element Akash. In yoga, we call them Mahatattva. Gorakshanath Siddhant, which is the Siddha Yoga tradition, they call it Mahatattva Patanjali Yoga Sutras also call them Mahatattva. In Ayurveda, because it comes from Sankhya Yoga, we call them Panch Mahabhut. Mahatattva and Mahabhut are the same. So let's look at Akash as the first element. And write down, take a minute, write down all that comes to your mind when you think of Akash. What are the gunas of Akash? The moment you are ready, Akash is ether, right? Akash is ether. Pen down all that comes to your mind and then maybe it's easier to share, right? What comes to our mind when we think of Akash? Wonderful. A lot of answers are coming. Anuradha or Vinay, would you want to share some of the answers?
Yes, I'll just read some of them out for you.
Right.
So we have Bandana Balji saying enormous, empty, free. Deepika ji says uplift emotions. Gerald Wallace says ji says Akash is limitless. Ila Pandya ji says infinity. Ragaya ji says thoughts. D Tan ji says Akash is vast, expansive, unlimited. Shirisha ji says no beginning and no ending. Dinkar Amin says Shunya. They're all so different. Every person who's answering is adding a new dimension to this. So it's fascinating. Veena ji saying vastness, pure, unaffected, bright, light, clear, infinite. Sneha ji saying formless, infinite freedom, vast. Rajiv ji is saying giving space to others for existence. Bandana ji again is saying blank, large space. Ravi ji says unlimited. Josa ji emptiness, stillness. Shejal ji says limitless, infinite, vast. Deepika ji again says Deepika ji here is saying that some connection. Sunil ji says it is limitless space. Virendra ji says something which connects with everything. Freedom. Ragaya ji says, Sairam ji says Chit, Sat and Anandam.
Right.
Yes, the typo there. Arunya, Dr. Arunya Prakash ji says, but I'll try and get it. She says, Bahut Sundar. Oh, that was a compliment to you. I think that's a compliment to you as a person and also as what you're sharing. So we have Venkata Subramaniam ji who says of sound. Hiralal ji says infinite. That was Ajay ji. Yeah. So basically all of these qualities.
Okay.
I think we'll stop there. And
yeah, excellent.
Oh, one more if I may add. Virendra ji says, Akash makes you feel how small we are.
However, we are Akash, right? So that's fine, but that shows
Good space.
what we started with feeling xenophobic, right? That if I limit my understanding to who I am in a mechanical way from the biology that I've learned in school, I feel very small in front of Akash. Excellent. However, now when I relook at myself, and you all have really started reforming yourself, right? That now I am Akash. One of the Panch Mahabhuta that I'm made up of is Akash, and therefore I'm all of this. However, one answer that I caught up, Anuradha, here was change colors. However, let me respond to that specifically. Does Akash change colors, or the things that unfold within Akash are changing? Akash is very detached, right? Akash doesn't change. Akash is unchanging. Akash only holds the sunrises, sunsets, the entire universe turning and changing, and however, hurricanes may come and go, cyclones may come and go, rainbows may come and go. Akash is unaffected. And therefore, we'll come to that now later. First, look at all the qualities of each tattva. Wonderful. So now the similar way, think of air or vayu. But again, remember air or Vayu as Panch Mahabhuta, part of Mahatattva. Now think of, write down all the gunas or qualities of Vayu.
Reading out.
Yeah, excellent
Thank
answer.
you so much.
I'm reading them.
Yeah, I'll just start answering them. So Rajibji says air movement. Gerald ji says Vayu is life. Virendra ji says the connecting link. Ajay ji purity. Veena ji light, fast, refreshing, prana strength, unselfish. Patricia Morrison ji says movement. Ajay ji force. Ravi ji says wait, it's jumped. There was too much of Vayu in there. My screen jumped. So
Energy.
Ajay ji says force. Ravi ji says sometimes bringing a lot of destruction. Smita ji says breathing air, life presence. Venkat Subramaniam ji says the very life system. Soumya Iyer ji says moving, caring, carrying others, strong. Sanjay Avagade ji says life. Oh, wait.
Oh, not risk.
There's a jump of the screen here.
No, that's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So we have life speed.
Yeah.
Padmaji says exist everywhere. Ajay ji life. Tejal ji overall movement, everything, no direction. Tans ji says Vayu's freedom. Padmini ji says feeling different. Wendy ji interpenetrating, supporting. Usha ji energy, vitality. Deepika ji relaxing force. Ila ji flow. Govind Sharma ji says force, invisible life. Sairam ji says life. Jyotsna ji says breathe, life force and movement. Breath, life force and movement. Veena says ever pervading, not constricted. Usha ji says life force. Ritu says air makes presence of omnipotent God.
Wow. Venkatji, however, mentioned Panchikarana, and that's very Ayurvedic term, and I'll not respond to that because for that we really need more time and need to go more in detail, right? But all these answers are excellent. However, do you realize that when you look at Akash, Akash is one, right? There is no duality. However, when you started looking at Vayu or air, it is either prana, life force, moving. However, the movement, depending on whether it is gentle or harsh, positive or negative, two different impact can come. So it can be life sustaining or it can also take away life, right? So the dvaita or the duality now starts happening in all other rest of the four Mahabhutas. Starting from Vayu, we'll go till Prithvi. And you would realize this dichotomy or duality. However, what does Sankhya says? Vayu is, of course, the life force or the prana, right? That's giving us life. However, the very main aim or the quality of Vayu is movement. It keeps on moving. However, it is also the cause of movement. I mean, nothing will move in this universe. We look at Akash, we feel the movement of clouds. And the movement of clouds is because of the Vayu, right? If there was no Vayu, the clouds will not be able to move. We see birds flying, and it's the air which helps them move their wings and go ahead, right? So Vayu is actually the force that creates movement in our own body. When we see all the movement, right? Whether it is the respiratory system that we look at, the pranayams that we do, the food that we inject, which goes all the way to our intestine and gets eliminated, or the transformation that happens within our body of the entire nervous circulation, which is because of Vayu. And Ayurveda talks of 10 types of Vayu. However, the most important, which we say prana, is connected with our heart. And therefore, breathing from the heart chakra is extremely important. Vayu as an element is also very critical because it's Vayu which connects our mind to all other senses. And it's the Vayu which impacts the mind the most. However, one of the qualities that gets translated into our nature, when we look at it, you would realize that Vayu can be moving us in a positive direction, or Vayu can also create a negative movement. So we'll come back to Vayu again, like how we'll go back to Akash. Now let's look at the third Panch Mahabhuta or the Mahatattva, Tejas or fire. Now again, please write down. Oh wow, the answer is from Smita is already ready.
They're anticipating now.
Yeah, exactly. That's wonderful.
So I'll just read out the answers. So
Sure.
wait. Anger, force. Have I missed anybody's? Free flowing, prana, moving, hollow, or pervasive. We have a mixture of things. Vayu. Oh God, there are many answers that came in from the previous one also.
Yeah, but I'm able to catch a lot of them. The bright, the
Yes.
light, heat, power, energy.
Yes, so we have Smita ji who says anger, fierce power, strong to burn everything. Rajiv ji heat, fire, heat, energy. Honar ji says energy, teja. Kans ji says disruption. Sanjay ji energy. Honar ji again kanti or light. Gerald D says Wallace ji says radiance. Rajiv ji destructive. Padma ji says it is it jumps.
I know.
Padmaji says bright, burning destruction. Raviji says life-giving. Rajaji heat. Patricia ji energy. Govind ji energy, warm, life, destruction, bright. Honaji soundarya. Ajay Dagat ji says force energy. Raviji nurturing. Sairam ji hungry. Saumya Iyer ji says warming. Destructive, bright, light. Ajay ji says energy. Ravi ji says bright. Deepika ji says heat, power, and energy. Reena ji says transforming. Dinkar ji says hot temperature. Veena ji says hot, purifying, cleansing energy. Nike ji says warming. Sneha ji says form of sun. Tejal Shah ji says heat, metabolism, digestion, upward movement. Veena ji says vibrant. Yes.
Wonderful. Excellent. I think Reena and Neela both talked about transformation. So the way movement is the major guna of Vayu, transformation is a major guna or quality of fire. Fire transforms and therefore it purifies, it digests, it gives us the beauty or the aura or what in Ayurveda they call prabha. Now there are a lot of Sanskrit terms which Anuradha knows better than me, are very difficult to translate, right? So our aura is because of the fire, right? And how do you translate that? It's very difficult to translate the word prabha. But our prabha is because of the fire within us. And that beauty, that radiance is different because of the transformation, the hello, yes.
Just one thing, Malaji, we had Deborah ji who's saying that she did not get something. So Deborah ji, would you like to just clarify what you did not get? Would you like to just try and put that down? No, all right. So we'll continue. We'll continue with you and I'll, yeah.
However, do you realize, and I'm glad everyone is now realizing the duality of fire, like how we realize duality of wind. What is the main impact of air? Okay, the main impact of air is movement and life. Yeah, Deepika, these are the two main impacts of air. Thank you. Okay, now when we come back to fire, the major impact of fire, as I was sharing, is transformation and therefore digestion. Every cell of our body is made up of all these Pancha Mahabhuta. And the cells in our body, the fire in these cells creates the transformation. And that helps the entire process of life going forward, further, life going forward. Now let's look at the next element. Okay, Deborah, do you want to, sorry, I lost the word as, sorry, I just got half the sentence, Anuradha.
Sorry, I'll just repeat that for you. She says that I lost the word as I'm learning, just learning them. So the word 3 was Agni, or fire.
Right.
All right.
Okay, thank you. So now let's go to the next element, Jala or water. Water is the next element. Let's, again, I want all of you to be very creative.
Malaji, I'll start reading out as it comes because then it will, otherwise the list is long. So Smitaji says calm, fierce, loving, caring, purifying and sustainable. Rajibji says water, liquid, taste. And then we have Vandanaji who's saying life, pure life sustaining. Rajaji says jal, flow in body. Raviji says cool, life-giving. Deepika Bhardwaj says flow. Rag Ayarji says flow. And then Raj Ayar, I think. Ravi Kangai says forceful. Tansji says flow. So the idea of flow is there. Bandana ji says no size, no color. Samya Iyer ji says flowing, defining, shaping. Samir ji says life-giving. Sejal ji says pure, thirst, hydrate. Ravi ji says no shape. Sneha Chavan ji says adaptable, flow. Ajay ji says life, ecosystem. Dinkar ji says moving, top to bottom. Josna ji says life sustaining, nurturing. Ravi ji says flexible. Ritu ji says satisfaction. Shirisha ji says flow. Prem Kumar ji says flow, creating way. Veena ji says life, clear, flexible, adaptive, energy life. So life source, welcoming. Ila ji says soothing. Patricia ji says fluid and flow. Sairam ji says it helps us moving our body, develop fluids. Megha ji says it in our body is 70% water. Rima ji says cool, dissolves. Sairam ji says shukra. So we've got another dimension coming in. Deborah ji says all life on planet. Wendy ji says love, bond, cleansing. Ila ji says cooling. Deepika ji says flow, maybe of energy, man or thoughts. Ritu Gupta ji says satisfaction. Sairam ji says shukra is jala. Girish ji says sheetal or cool, cooling. Sanjay ji says cool, life. Nikki ji says delicious. Padma Kangai ji says gravity. Patricia Mayer ji says creativity. Padmini ji says solace. Venkata Subramanian ji says grains. Dylan from Singapore says stickiness, fluid, naturalizing. We have Malan Ganbiji who says neutral, depth, purity. Venkat Subramaniam ji says food. Shirisha ji says controls, fire. Rajesh ji says rasa. Ajay ji says this connects us to life of system. So I just have another small word to add. So when you're putting your answers there, it would be great if you also put the country you're from. So we just get an idea of where all you're answering. We're all across the world who are participating in this wonderful workshop. So please just add your country and then go ahead. You just need to do it once and then we'll at least get to know the diversity that is present for this workshop. So yes, Malaji, over to you.
Thank you, Anuradha. Okay, wonderful. And I love the way your mind, without reading any Sankhya Yoga or any theory, is able to work on it. And this has been my consistent experience in all the workshops, you know. And we don't really need theory to read. It's all our inner wisdom or inner intelligence, which allows us to understand this. Now water, and somebody said downward flow and gravity, which is so true, because if you go back to fire, even if you have a candle, you can bend a candle, but fire, the flame will always go upward, right? And therefore in Sanskrit, Agni or fire is called Urdhvagami, one that always goes up, while water by inner nature always goes down. Water's flow is more towards the gravity and therefore it will flow down. That's its nature. It's inner nature, right? Also, it's cool. It's soothing. The first life, right? Our own birth. Where did that happen? In the uterine water. You
So there's one answer by Usha ji who says it's the water is the primordial soup for creation. So when you said that, I said I must make that connection.
Absolutely. See,
Very beautifully put.
Primordial soup for creation, right? Without water, the life wouldn't have even germinated, right? Excellent. So now let's do the same exercise for the last tattva, which is Prithvi or earth.
All right. So Honaji says body. Raviji says forgiving. Tamiji says solid. Raviji says heavy. Raviji, where are you from? Please let us know. Smita ji says, Sanjay ji says stability. Smita ji says warmth, life, hold, grounded, birth and death, one's nature. Sneha ji says grounding. Rajiv ji again, Rajiv ji says earth is solid, gravity. Honor ji says it's everything. Rajesh ji says solid. Ajay ji says movement. Raviji says patience. Padmaji kind. Raviji from Nagpur, yes. Ragaya says stability, and she's from Chennai. We have Girishi who says it's nurturing, it's Idea. I didn't get that one. So Deepika ji says it's the base element. Dinkar ji says no movement, Jada. So Rajesh ji says smell. Sneha ji says mother. Hardeep Singh ji says from Delhi says grounding and creation. And we have then Prem Kumar ji, wait. We have, I'll just go. So Sarojini ji says it's fertility and she's from India. Dilan ji from Singapore says hard, consolidating. Shirisha ji says heavy. Ajay ji from Jabalpur says life. And then we have Patricia from Ireland. She says stability, earth matter. She's Trish from Dublin. And then we have Shanti ji who says foundation. Ravi ji says nurturing. Sairam ji is keeping, growing, changing time to time. Chandranna ji says hard from Bangalore. Ayar ji from Chennai says foundation, block. Nike from Ireland says, Nike ji from Ireland says grounding. Venkatesh ji says patience. Bindu ji from Bangalore says endurance. Patricia ji from Italy is saying heaviness and freshness. Shanti ji from Sydney is saying it's foundation, grounding. Radhika ji from India is saying feminine energy. Then we have another one who says stability, tolerant. Ritu ji says reality to accept life and death, also from India. She's Debra ji from Manali. She's saying trees, microbiome, seed, bacterium, microhyze, and great source Hima. There's a lot of Latin jargon that I'm sorry if I'm not pronounced correctly. Ajay ji says nature. Ilaji says accommodating and passing. And then there is Deepika ji says reproduction of life. She's from Qatar. We have Himach. Then we have. Okay, so there is supporting, patient, giving stability, New Zealand, sustenance from Sunil ji from Mumbai. Vijay ji says support, Belgium, whole of biology. Then we have from Manipur, Malam Nagabi. She says it's form, rigidity, compassion, giving shape and stability from Rajiv ji, bearing, energy that holds, cuddles, and all cares and nurtures. So there are also answers coming in on Facebook Live, which it's not so easy to take in, but there's a lot of response, spontaneous response to your invitation.
Congratulations, Anuradha, because this is truly global, right? And I'm so happy to see people participating from all parts of the world. Wonderful. Okay. So
the answers are still flowing, but it's not so easy to keep up. Yes.
Right. No issues. We go back to water, and one of the quality of water is coherence, right? Water binds. If you want to mix two elements, then we use water and then we can mix it together. However, what holds them together is earth, the Prithvi or the earth element, which holds it together. And therefore, all the answers that you say, yeah, I can see Shanti now holding, nurturing, yes, absolutely. And also most of the answers, do you realize that when we say earth, we say Mother Earth. I mean, we never say Father Earth, right? I mean, then therefore, all the qualities that we would generally associate with a mother, compassionate, forgiving, nurturing, giving, supporting, holding us, all that goes with earth. Earth is an element. Now, very quickly and wonderful answers. Congratulations, all of you. And I'm so grateful with the participation that's coming in. Let's go back to the first element, ether. All of you, at least we have heard all these. Some of you would have written down, or some of you have also gained from other participants who are sharing. So now let's go back to earth, I mean the space element, and anyone, any individual who has maybe a lot of, though we all are made up of these 5 elements, suppose if the Akash or the sky or the space element is a lot in me, what will be my nature? What will be my personality? The infinity, vastness, mysteriousness, all that we talked about as the quality of sky, what kind of person that will make me? Wonderful, Anuradha. Lots of answers coming already.
Yes, generous. Raviji saying generous. And then we have Rajvi saying not space selfish. Veenaji broad-minded. Raviji says forgiving. Tansi says visionary.
Patient, I can understand. Ritu said impatient. How will it Akash make us impatient? Just think about it. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Raviji says, Padmaji says vast. Raviji says big-hearted. Shejalji says generous. Venkateshji says limitless. Ragayarji says broad-minded and encouraging. It's from Chennai. Rituji says impatient. Deepikaji, if excess then becomes introvert.
Yes.
Rotnaji says free and open-minded. Bandanaji says compassionate. Sarojini says accommodating. Saramji completely positive with big heart, I guess. Shagunji says little impatience. Sejalji says always giving. Saramji says heart. Honorji says relax. Ajayji buffer between us and cosmos. Aniji says unchangeable. Smitaji says calm and acceptance. Bandanaji says all embracing. Govindji says infinite. Honorji trustable. Deelanji says unpredictable. Ravi Kangaiji says tolerant. Girishji says accommodating and open. Padmaji says energetic. Unattached, solitary, cold, unfeeling. Debraji. Chandranaji says movement. Christine ji says patient. Honor says calm. Sejal ji, can we call them? I didn't get that. Patricia ji says freedom. Akila ji says accommodative, godlike, detached. Satomi ji, Sejal ji detached. Ila Pandya ji absorbing and converting. Bindu ji clear blue and vast. Christine ji free of fear.
Excellent.
Shanti ji says wise and open, accepting but not affected by them.
Absolutely.
Fascinating. Ajay ji says prevents us from damaging rays. Ravi ji says non-judgmental. Shejal ji says can we call them detached? Padma ji says impartial, and Rajesh ji says associate with nature. And we'll just see if we have anything from Facebook very quickly. So we have shape, mass, touchable. No, that's for the earth. All right.
Akila says, I read a person of free will. Very true. Inclusiveness. Usha says inclusiveness. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent. So now do you realize that when we all are made up of the 5 elements, this is one of the possibility of us. The moment, and therefore, before we end today, maybe I'll try and give you a 2-minute experience of meditation on each element. However, please remember that Akash is a possibility of who we can become. And Akash can make us detached. In pandemic times, it's the fear which is making us, the fear which is creating a contraction. Akash expands, right?
There was one answer from Deepika ji who says that, Deepika Bharadwaj ji says it detaches from materialistic world.
Exactly. And therefore, Akash, the moment we connect with Akash outside and Akash within, we are able to survive any crisis, any pandemic, anything which is happening, because we see it as a drama of life. However, we also are open-minded. We are free of fear because we are able to see the continuity of life, right? And we are able to take the unfolding of life itself in our own stride. So now let's look at air. If this is what Akash can make us or is our possibility, how does, sorry, will Anuradha, yeah, what is this? Will do, could you please, I didn't get this.
No, somebody had asked me to put a question forward. I said that please put it in the question box. So I will answer that. Yes.
Wonderful. So now let's do the same exercise for air element. Air or Vayu.
Yeah.
How
So we have.
make us as a person?
Yeah. So we'll continue. So Padmaji says powerful already. Karaviji says soothing, cooling, impulsive by Premji. Shagunji says it's fast, powerful, swift. Raviji says destructive. It can be destructive. Ajayji says it can be force. I have velocity. I can move. I can fly. Tejalji says thriving. Ayarji says connecting. Smitaji says fickle, maybe. Sanjayji says energetic and vibrant. Anikji says flexibility. Rajaji says be light. And then we have Sairamji says it can calm the mind in within, not of monkey mind. Remaji says everywhere moving. Swamiji says multitasking. Deepikaji says take inside of oneself when focus on it. Akhilaji says willing to change. Giriji says lighter, flexible. Padma Kangaji says continuity. Sarojini says subtle and invisible. Vikiji says absorbing. Govindji says dynamic. Deepaji says action oriented. Sangeetaji says moving. Debraji says mutable, mercurial, and yes, fickle. Binduji says let go and fly. Raviji in flexibility. Similar ideas are there, but still diverse expressions. Sangeetaji says conducive, conductive. Bandanaji says more oxygen and energetic and supple. Rajivji saying being dynamic, full with life and flexible. Janaviji says it's prana. Rituji distracted. Padmaji says force. Balanced prana by Josnaji, emotional and unchangeable. Shantiji. Ushaji says vitality. And Chandranaji says existence. So over to you.
Excellent, thank you. So we saw again the duality in a Vayu, which was not there in Akash. Akash or space was giving us, ether was giving us all the positive possibility. However, in Vayu or air element, we need to be very careful. When it is balanced, it gives us life. It gives us vitality. It gives us a possibility to change, a possibility to become positive. However, if it is not balanced and it is out of our control, it can make us anxious, fearful, distracted, and therefore it can make us actually go here and there without giving any result. However, multitasking was one of the answer that I saw. Multitasking is a myth created by the corporate. In fact, our brain and our mind specifically is suited only to do one task at a time. So please keep that in mind. Because when our mind is jumping in multitasking, it's our prana which gets distracted. So best is to focus in one activity at one time, do it in the best possible way, and then only move on to another task. However, how do we balance the prana? Because prana or the air element is the most powerful, right? It can take you away because it's the prana which is creating all the movement. And therefore, if you want to make the best use of prana as energy, you have to be more powerful than the prana. You will have to learn to harness the prana. And therefore, doing a breathing exercise. So let's, when we complete all the 5 elements, we'll do 2 or 3 minutes of 3 SRB rhythmic breathing, which will help us balance our prana. Now let's do the same exercise with fire. What personality or emotional characteristics does fire give us?
The responses are coming quick now. So we have Shagunji who says energetic and vibrant. And then we have Shagunji, no, Shirisha Ji says anger. Deepika Ji says uh, does overthinking due to unbalance of air. Ravi Ji says heat, anger, energy. Deepa Ji says aggressive. Bandana Ji says angry. Tejas Ji we can have an attitude that is energetic. Dylan Ji says aggressive. Ayur Ji says anger, heat. Padma Ji says shining. Sangeeta Ji says power. Smita Ji says ego, anger, force. Ajay Ji says energy. Rema says burns, finishes. Patricia Ji says passionate. Ravi Ji says warmth. Sairam Ji says extreme anger, like Asura. Rajiv Ji says life, a fire is transformative, uplifting oneself. And then we have, it can be active and aggressive. Bindu Ji says it purifies. Nika Ji says revolutionary. Sangeeta Ji says knowledge. Padma Ji says fear. Jahanavi Ji says purification. Ajay Ji says heat. Sarojini Ji says illumination. Ravi Ji says ambition. Sairam Ji says who loses his wisdom. Interesting. Patricia or Trish Morrison from Dublin says dynamic, energetic, and forceful. Premji says active. Binduji says purifies without discrimination. Vandanaji says melancholy. Raviji says desire. Nagraji says determination. Ravi Kangaji says passion. Reenaji says passionate. Rajaji says jealous with others. I'm not so sure if it's zealous or jealous. I'm not so sure here. Sanjay Ji says unstable, angry. Malangabi Ji says passion and purification. Deepika Ji says energy and emotions, if in a balanced way. Debra Ji says passion, creativity, and destructive warmth and temper. Yashoda Ji says fear and anger. Josna Ji, energy and action, if balanced. Raga Ji says vitality and action. Ajay Ji says digestive. Govind Sharma Ji says transformative. Ravi Kanga Ji says destructive. Smita Ji says overreactful and fearful. Venkata Subramaniam Ji says more energy. Sairam overindulging in sense organ satisfaction. Ajay Ji says transformer to matter and knowledge. And then I will skip a few. Govindji, and then we have Ravi Ji says destructive. Smita Ji overreacting, fearful. Venkat Subramaniam says more energy. Sairam Ji overindulging in sense organ sensation. Transformer of matter. Ajay Ji, Venkat Ji says and knowledge. Jaiprakash Ji says transformative. Chanchala, ever changing, says Dinesh Ji. Padma Ji says cautious. Shanti Ji says unpredictable. Dylan Ji says sexy. Usha Ji says powerful and warm. All right, I just have a small request, maybe just to, there's a lot of flow of thoughts and all, but maybe just for the interest of time and all, I request everybody to put one word, the first word that comes to your mouth, comes to your mind as you are answering these. Obsessive, Reena Ji says obsessive. Able to walk, zit straight up, show yourself vertical from Belgium, Barbara Ji. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anuradha, and thanks everyone. So this is what fire does to us, right? Negative, it can be destructive, obsessive, anger, self-destruction or destruction of others if we are too stressful. It can overwhelm us, right? However, the same fire, if we keep it in a balanced state, the same fire can give us transformation, make us inspirational, give us the right wisdom, right? Because a lot of information which is coming in, it's the fire within us which can actually create the transformation of information into wisdom. So it can make us wiser. It can tell us what action we should take, what we should avoid, rather than just jump into action. Because the air may make us quick and may want us some movement. However, it's the fire, the wisdom of fire, which will help us understand, transform us, and help us decide which action is better, what we need to avoid and what we need to do. It creates that sense of discrimination, the power of discrimination within us. Now let's look at water very quickly. Water as an element.
So I'll just take one word quickly. So we have a harmony. I'll just take down the words now. So harmony, focused, swift, cool, tamasic, patient, flow, adaptable, fixed, emotion, chanchala, making fertile, maybe just another 3 more and then we'll continue. So relaxing, water has fire in it, find a way out, calming and clear.
Wonderful. Excellent. And it's water that holds all our emotions, right? They bind us, they connect us, they create harmony. It's also
Yeah, sorry,
yeah,
I'll just add because binding, friendly, these are the words that came soon after. So
absolutely, exactly. And we have also seen that water has a lot of patience. It does not get into conflict. If there is a huge boulder in a small stream of water has to pass, it finds its own way, right? It doesn't conflict with the stone. Like the fire will take anything head on and may get into conflict. What water will quietly find its own way out and keep harmonious relationship with everyone within and outside, right? And therefore, water's creativity is also creating good, harmonious relationship within the team, within the family, within society. Water also keeps on generating life. So the moment we are stabilized in the water, and more than somebody earlier had said that more than 70% of our body is water. However, I'll go back to something that I know about ether. More than 99% of our body is empty. So imagine in that 1% of the body, all other four Mahabhutas are doing their play. Now, water can be calming, right? As Rama has written here. So, water can help us remain calm in any situation, right? However, there are times when it can become flooding, it can destroy, and that's only when it is imbalanced or out of control. Let's look at earth element last, and then I'll take you back to the meditation of all the five elements.
we
Go
just
ahead.
had a nice saying by Dr. A.K. Jain, who said that Rahiman pani rakhiye bin pani sab soon.
Wow, wonderful, बहुत बढ़िया, धन्यवाद.
So we have here, I'll just go with the words. So we have coexistence, patience, nurture. So there's a lot of patience coming up here. Concrete, holds on, grounded, stable, grounded. Yes.
Wonderful. So earth element actually keeps us grounded, right? It's firm, it has a lot of patience, and therefore Mother Earth till now, till the pandemic time, allowed us to live our unsustainable lifestyle. It's now that we see her anger, right? So the body, our bones, the strong foot, the shape of our body is because of earth element. Now, the earth, if we keep it, the entire Annamaya Kosha is made up of earth element. Now, earth element, if we keep it stable, we keep it grounded with right breathing, right prana, right food to all the five senses, right? Then, if the earth element is grounded, all our other elements will have the possibility of flourishing, because one of the logic is that each element is connected with one sense and another is the sense organ. So what is ether connected with? Ether is connected with sound. Without ether there will be no sound. So ether makes sound a possibility, and it is connected with ears. What about air element? Air is connected with touch and therefore our skin. Fire is connected with form or rupa, our ability to see the form, and therefore with the eyes. Water is connected with taste and therefore our tongue. And earth is connected with smell and therefore our nose. However, one of the quality, as I started in the session earlier, in the beginning of the session, what is the nature of all our senses? They constantly want to go outward. So we want to look at something, we want to hear something, we want to touch something, we want to taste everything, right? We want to smell everything, and this is the overindulgence of senses that we are going through. We all realize that we have started talking of digital detox, right? Why do we need digital detox? Because we all know that there is overindulgence of all our five senses with the external world. Now, what is the solution? Solution is very easy. As it is, we are in a lockdown time, there is social distancing. How do we use or make best of this social distancing or the isolation? Not by feeling negative about it, but let's make the most use by going inward, allowing all our senses to go inward in a meditative trance and making a positive use of it. So let's begin with space again. If I want to connect with the positive aspect of space, I can meditate in two ways. One, outward, one, inward. What is the outward way? I look at the sky. I enjoy the sunrise. I enjoy the sunset. I enjoy the play of clouds and birds in the sky. I watch the night sky with all the stars and the moon and, all the Leela, as we say, all the play of the universe unfolding in the sky or the space. And that's the outer meditation. When I'm doing that, I don't think of anything else. Even if I realize that my mind is now talking to a lot of thoughts, what I do, I bring back my attention to watching the sky. Another inward meditation for the sky is, one can close your eyes, and you can all try this just now. Just close your eyes. And there are two skies, or they call Chida Akash and Hriday Akash. There is one sky which is in our third eye center, which is in the middle of our forehead, between our two eyebrows. And there is one space or Akash, which is also there within our heart. So these are the two possibilities wherever you are comfortable, or you can do both meditation at different times. You can close your eyes and bring all your attention either on your heart chakra, which is in the middle of your breast, middle of your chest. And that heart, it's not the heart which pumps blood, but it is the heart chakra which holds the Akash. Because Patanjali Yoga Sutra says, Hridaye Chitta Samvita. Our consciousness resides in our heart. So the moment we focus on our heart and we meditate on that heart, the heart expands. Our consciousness expands. And the moment our consciousness expands, we slowly transform and become more of the Akash. The more we focus and meditate on our third eye chakra, our Akash there expands. We become more intuitive. We become more detached. Our emotions calm down and we are able to connect with the joy. Now let's look at Vayu, or the air element. Outside, when we look at the sky, when we can look at the plants, Vayu, we cannot feel it except when it touches our skin or when we see movement outside. So either the clouds that are moving because of the air, or the leaves and the branches of any tree that are dancing because of the wind or the air element, that's where we can focus. That's one way to do meditation. Another way is inside, because it's the Vayu or the air element which will ground us. And for that, even if we can't do anything else, all we can do is just focus on the breath we are taking in, breath which we are putting down. Anuradha, possible to play Vinay ji? Possible to play 3 SRB for just 1 minute?
I will just check. Vinay ji, will you be able to just play that music?
As the music goes, 1, 2, 3, you breathe in. There is no 4. It's a natural transition. 5, 6, you breathe out. This is also an app, and it's also there on YouTube, from where Vinay ji is playing it just now. Yeah, Vinay ji, please. Just for 1 minute.
Vinay ji, we can't hear any sound as of now.
that's okay. People can just take, write this down, 3 SRB, 3-step rhythmic breathing. Thank you, Vinayji. Dhanyavad. People may take a little while. Don't force yourself to be able to listen to me very quickly. I'm sorry to be doing this in so much hurry. Please enjoy this whenever you can in your own solitude. Tavaria ji is the one who has designed, after a lot of research in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, this rhythm of breathing. And this rhythm is actually the rhythm of the universe. And this is the rhythm of us when we were in the mother's womb. Thank you, Vinayji. Thanks for the... No, Shanti, it's 1, 2, 3, no 4 and 5, 6. Okay, so just try and follow this first rather than mixing two other different rhythms of breathing. Is everyone able to hear me? Because...
Yes, Malaji, we can. We're able to follow you. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Now let's look at fire. Fire is so much easy to focus on, right? We can light a candle or a diya, and we can do Trataka, which is a yoga process of focusing on a flame without blinking your eyes. As long as you can without blinking. And when your eyes start watering and you're not able to focus it more, you can stop, blink your eyes. However, this is something that don't force yourself, don't overdo it. Also, what has happened is, unfortunately, there is too much of artificial light around us, right? So also fasting from excess light can also help. So not just focusing on a right light, which is a diya or a candle, helps us, but enjoying darkness. Fasting from artificial lights around us all the time. I mean, we have created smart cities and we say cities that never sleep. And now we know what is happening to all those smart cities. So withdrawing from light to connect with the inner light is also a way of fire meditation. And when we want to focus on the inner light, we can imagine a flame in the middle of our heart chakra. And when you focus on your heart chakra, imagine the flame going upward, because the nature of fire itself is, it's urdhvagami, right? It goes up. So it will create a transformation for us, which will take us to a higher self, to a better possibility of who we are. And then coming to water. Many of you who are from India or who have followed some of the Indian traditions would have seen water being poured on a Shiva linga, right? And when you pour water, when you focus on that water, it creates a rhythm for us as well. However, whoever has a possibility, when you water your plants, focus on the water. When you are taking a shower, focus on the water. If you have a possibility of a river or a sea or a water flow near your house, focus on that. That's the external water. However, more than 70% of our body is water. So when we meditate, when we are doing 3 SRB, we can also manage to focus on the water within our body. And imagine if there are any energy blocks, they are all getting dissolved, because water's nature is to dissolve everything and flush out the system. So this is the way we can focus on the water within us. And what about earth? Oh, that's the most beautiful and much easier to do. If you can walk in a garden barefoot, right? Feel the touch of Mother Earth. Feel the touch of grass. Hold that earth in your hands, right? Enjoy the mountains, because in India we say, Samudra Vasane Devi, Parvatastana Mandale, Vishnu Patni Namastubhyam, Padasparsham Kshamaswame. That means Mahalakshmi, or the consort of Vishnu, the entire ocean is her clothes, her sari, and all the mountains are her breasts. However, Mother, I'm walking on you, I'm keeping my foot on you, so please forgive me. When we recite this in the morning as a ritual of our own tradition, we get into a conscious way of living in every moment. Yeah, you can walk on a beach also. I mean, if you have a possibility of a seashore near you, walking on the beach, on the sand also is a great experience. Now we have concluded the senses, right? I mean, we have looked at how the Panch Mahabhuta are connected with our senses, how they are connected with our personality, because our entire sense of self, sense of personality is a combination of Panch Mahabhuta. And all of us have the same Panch Mahabhuta, right? Look at the variation and the variety of manifestation. And how inner earth meditation, that's the question I got. Where is the inner earth within us? Our entire body is the temple of Mother Earth. Think of yourself as the earth element in itself. And when we look at each cell in our body from head to toe, and then again begin the process from head to toe, even if you are able to focus at each part of your body, each internal organ, experience the vibrating Mother Earth within us, we'll be able to become like her. Having patience, having forbearance, having stability, having, yes, it's a body scan, having stability and body scan. Dr. Yash, who's here, he teaches mindfulness and Sattva Vajai course in a beautiful way. And mindfulness allows us to do the body scan. And this is how I've tried sharing with you the sense of who we are in relation to Panch Mahabhuta. So I hope this is just the beginning, right? This is just the baby step in our journey to learn about ourselves. We at Rashram, where I am now associated as a professor, resident mentor, and director of Wellness Center, we are offering full-fledged programs on wellness, well-being, and happiness from Ayurveda and yoga understanding. There is immediate one program which we are launching in August, is about teaching faculty development program. How do I understand my Panch Mahabhuta and its relation to my teaching style and different learning styles of my students? Also, we are launching another program of wellness champions who can understand health from a very holistic perspective and go out and spread the awareness of health to the larger audience at grassroots level, when we can take the grassroots level reforms to policy level of health and agroecology. Thank you so much, Anuradha ji and Indica Yoga, for connecting me to this beautiful, I will not say global, right? Because India believes in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, right?
Mhm.
So this is our universal family where we are connected.
Yes, it's a world family. The whole earth, the earth being the mother who nourishes us all.
Absolutely.
It's a family. So I think,
all become the nourishment for each other, right?
yes, exactly. So the praises are flowing like the waters and the air and fire. We've got all the elements that are present in the appreciation of your particular session, where a lot of people have been very touched, and I think that they will carry some of this. And personally, like I was saying, what had left me at that point was how you had connected it to the doshas, and to show that the doshas were the combination of these elements, and
Exactly.
therefore their proportion in our beings, in our constitution, results in the different personalities we have. So I think the simplicity with which you had made that connection was what left its lasting imprint. And it's something that I carry when I look at my students, when I try and understand the world around me. So thank you very much again for accepting to share on this topic with our world yoga community. So
Most welcome, Radha. And that's where I mean, if you would have realized, and the audience would have realized that I kept on connecting with the heart, right? Because
yes,
even from children, whenever you say, "Who are you?" So I mean, we put our hand here, right? So it's till now our entire living in the industrial revolution society has been from the head, from the brain, which is very survival dominated, right? Which has created this xenophobia, mechanistic misunderstanding how the universe works. However, when we connect with the heart, a heart-centric living is what I would, wish for all of us, that we all connect much better from our heart with our own self and with the entire universe.
yes, I think that's a very important message in today's times when the world is, or the pandemic is forcing us to look at ourselves. I mean, the gaze is being forced to rest on who we are and where are we centered in ourselves, and are we caught by the stories of the monkey mind, or what is dominating our lives. So I'll just take a few questions, and then if you'd like to answer them, maybe we'll stretch by another 5, 10, 10 minutes, maybe beyond. So I request you all to stay with us, because the answers that come out of the questions that many of you ask, the fantastic questions that are always there, are always very enriching as well. So we have a few questions here, and one is that how can we balance our personal and professional lives with this understanding?
Wonderful. And see, this is where we at Rashram are offering larger programs to people, right? I mean, unfortunately, our education never integrates this understanding of who we are. And therefore, what subjects do I like, or what profession should I take, right? Now, depending on how you understand your personality as a prakruti, which is nature, which is natural to me, because each element and each dosha, as Anuradha expanded, gives us a strength or a talent. And if I'm able to use that talent in my profession, my personal life, professional life, there is no dichotomy, right? I'm flowing in what is my talent in my personal life into my professional life. So if we are able to bridge that, right? Because if I'm more of an air element, and therefore I am more of a vata person, vata dominant person, as Ayurveda calls it, maybe communication is my talent. That's my strength. New ideas, innovation is my strength. And therefore, in my profession, if I have a role that allows me to communicate, that allows me to innovate, be creative, then I'll flourish. However, if I have a role which is mundane, which is routine, which is attention to detail, which doesn't allow me to be creative or innovative, I'll get frustrated. I've worked in HR, and I'm sure a lot of attrition is because there is no match between the prakriti and the role.
Yes, wonderful. So there are a few questions. I'll do an amalgamation of them, but basically some who want to understand whether overthinking is due to the imbalance of air, and just some tips there. So overthinking, and there are questions around how do you change your personality. So if you're too much fire and you want to become more grounded, then how do you make that shift? And a related question there is that, for especially if you have like a problem with the bones or something, then how does one work? Also, how does one use this understanding of the elements to influence our own personality and physiology?
Sure, wonderful. I'll take the first one. The overthinking is because of air element, right? insomnia, sleeplessness at night is also because of the air element, which is a major problem in today's youth, as I understand. So when you balance, right, when you balance your air element, which is your prana, when you balance your prana, obviously what's going to happen is that your overthinking will calm down, right? And it doesn't work that if I increase my earth element, my air element will go down. No, whichever element is imbalanced, I have to learn to balance that same element. If I have too much fire, and then I need to understand, is it because of my food habits? Because there is fire in the food we eat, right? So am I eating too spicy food, too pungent food? Am I eating too late at night? Because the way there is Panchamahabhut in me, there is Panchamahabhut in everything around us. So Ayurveda defines it very scientifically that the day of the time also is dominated by some Mahabhut and therefore the dosha. Also, we say that all the seasons are there in 1 year. They also happen during one day and one night. So the more deeper we go in Ayurveda, we actually understand our relationship with the universe. And the moment I understand my relationship with the universe, I'm able to keep a balance in within me by aligning, my circadian rhythm, the time when I get up, the time when I eat, what I eat, how much I eat, right? And therefore also when I sleep, how much I sleep. Because I know people would get this message because I know a lot of you who are listening to me and what time your WhatsApp shows me till what time were you awake at night. if that is 10 to 2 in the night is the pitta time where we must be sleeping and resting, if we are into our phone and WhatsApp messaging, then what is it doing? It's exciting the fire in you rather than helping you to sleep better.
Yes, thank you. I mean, there's a personal tip, a personal message to take out of that as well. I mean, everything is in such a disbalance. All right. So, just that we have here, there's a personal request from Sairamji. He says, tips for an aggressive mind father, an aggressive mind girl. Parenting tips, please. He says, I'm unable to stop my daughter's curiosity with my old mindset. She's super aggressive and has clarity in her thoughts. So how do you how do you counsel this family?
I wish I had a magic wand in this program. In 1 second, okay, transform. We can't do that, right? But yes, Ayurveda, and this is where I'm so happy people are able to see the connection with Ayurveda in counseling. We are developing at Rashtam, we are developing special courses for existing psychologists and counselors who can integrate Ayurveda. So when they understand, right? When patients come to them, if they are going through depression, then obviously there is too much of earth element. So too much of tamas. So how do you help them ignite a little fire and make them little rajasic before you make them sattvic? Or if people are too aggressive, then there is too much of rajas. So how do you balance it with the sattva? Ayurveda can be used for marital counseling, parenting, right? And our own old mindset. I will get stuck only if I think of myself as a product. But if I think of myself now from Panch Mahabhuta, none of them are stagnant, right? They are all dynamic. They all keep on changing every moment. If I think of myself as a dynamic combination of Pancha Mahabhuta, can I become an Akash as a father so that I'm detached and I'm listening without reacting to my daughter, right? So my fire and her fire is not into conflict, but I'm able to see her fire and help her listen to her clarity. I mean, I remember my son telling me when he was much younger and when I was not so mature, why are you shouting at me? Can you calm down and tell me the same thing again? Then maybe I'll understand. And I said, wow, you are my guru.
Yes. Yes, very nice. No, I think an important point that came out of your answer here is the fact that we cannot really change the other person's swabhava, but what we can do is change our swabhava, decide how we will manage our elements, the play of the elements in us, and act in such a way that it counterbalances rather than aggravates.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think this also is a very important tip for the COVID times when there's so much of this, let's say the vata around and fire and vata and the negative side of Prithvi, that kind of thing. So how do we navigate our elements, or how do we, manage the elements within us so that we can maintain a good balance? And I guess that will be our protection. What would you say to that? And
So, Anuradha, what I'm reading about is a lot of domestic violence which is happening these days. You just feel sad, and it can happen to any gender. Generally, we think of domestic violence as that only women are suffering, but not necessarily. Unfortunately, in today's times, you see girls and women are so aggressive that the domestic violence is also a reverse phenomena which is happening. And how do you balance that? I mean, of course, I don't have any ready-made solutions or answers. However, why does violence happen, right? It's our own fire which is going out of control. So if we turn the gaze inward, if I'm able to manage my fire, right, better, then obviously it will not go outside as anger or as violence to the other person.
so what would you recommend is a good counterbalance to that? So if somebody is throwing fire at you, which elements would it be? Water, that you have to have more water, so all the qualities that water have at a psychological and emotional level, then we have to nurture that.
Exactly. Water, earth, right? Or even sometimes become like a space. Just let the drama happen. That person is getting into drama of anger. That person is getting into drama of violence. I'm not going to take it personally. I don't want to participate. Our problem is we participate in the drama. We don't realize.
Exactly. Yes,
But
yes.
participate. Stop participating. Be detached. I know it's very easy to say, it's very difficult to try. However, this is when we are stuck with each other at home, right? There is external social distancing, but family members, and therefore a lot of family dramas are happening right now. Our only solace is go within. And the moment you calm down, and I've realized the power of 3SRB, there is an app, please download on your phones. The moment you breathe on this rhythm, you would realize that you are calming down. And I've seen people, Dr. Paruk, from whom I learned it, he used to keep this music on in his house 24/7. He would even sleep on this rhythm. And the kind of aura that he had, right? And he was with Tatas, he was with TAS, which is, everyone knows, corporate life, a very stressful corporate life. And yet he could remain so calm and focused. So the moment you play such a music somewhere in the house, the person who's violent also would subconsciously start breathing on the rhythm. And maybe it will take a little longer time. However, let's pray that that person also gets impacted with the peace of the rhythm.
Yes. There was one question about from Jai Prakash ji, Dr. Jai Prakash, who was saying that is the black hole the source of the ether? Just in your understanding, what would you say from a physics point of view?
Absolutely, it is. But scientists are now discovering black hole and they say, oh, space is expanding and we don't know what is there, right? Our rishis could intuitively in their tapasya, they could understand what ether is. And for us, black hole is not fearful. It's not negative. Because for us, it's the space where Mahakal and Mahakali lives, right? That's why it's black. Kali, Kal, right? It's a black color. But it's the play of unmanifest and manifest. So maybe it's going to manifest a lot of things which we still don't know.
Yes. So there are questions. I really am sorry if I'm not being able to present all of them because some of you have very personal. There's a last one. If you can maybe just give a quick tip on somebody who's saying that an 11-year-old daughter has fragile bone disease. So is there any medication for bone strength? I mean, is there any way that you would?
There is, I mean, unfortunately, that's the big difference between Ayurveda and Western medicine. Western medicine would give you calcium or, calcium dominated food to take so that fragile bones heal. However, fragile bones, bone asthi as a dhatu, is a result of all the earlier dhatus. And every dhatu has its own fire or agni. So it begins with rasa dhatu, which is what you eat and your, how your nourishment happens, gets transformed. So rasa, rakta, mausa, meda, then comes asthi, right? So there is, maybe if you can get a good Ayurvedic physician, they'll be able to explain to you how do you correct which dhatu needs, because each dhatu nourishes the nest. So asthi becoming the just second last, third last. We have to correct all the earlier dhatus.
Yes. So asthi being the bones, and then the marrow, and all of that are interconnected. Basically, blood, marrow, the densification of the fluids in a sense in the body. So
I just saw somebody ask any online courses by Mala Madam. Okay, yeah, Rashtram. Keep on looking at our Rashtram website. We'll be offering a lot of online courses on the same subject.
yes, so there are people also in that connection wanting to know that what is the eligibility for the course. I guess you can get that information also on the website, and then that link is on Rashtram. So you look up Rashtram, and the link was already shared. Reggie, if you can once more share it.
School of Public Leadership.
Rashtram School of Public Leadership. So that's the one you need to look up. And I would just like to take this opportunity to make you aware of 3 organizations that we are both of us linked to in different ways. So the first one is the Sri Aurobindo Ashram, which is the founder philosophers are the mother and Sri Aurobindo, and amazing literature available there. So you can go online. All the works of the mother and Sri Aurobindo are available for free. SriAurobindoAshram.org. Please look them up, and you will get soul nourishing content from there. The other organization that we met the first time, is the Indian Psychology Institute, the ipi.org.in. And in IPI, you will get a lot of literature on the works and research that has happened by various scholars in the domain of psychology, and how do we present this worldview? How do you create a psychology around this alternative worldview, which doesn't negate any of the existing ones, but which draws a broader spectrum so that we see how they all fit into that. And that larger spectrum is the Indic worldview that is being talked about there. And the third one, of which I'm an alumna, and she's a mentor in that, is Rashtram. They have excellent programs of public policy. So they have a public policy forum for executives, where if you're interested in the domain of policy, just understanding policy analysis, policy designing, and connecting with hands-on activities, working with administrators and all, do look up this program on public policy for executives. They also have it on, they call it on the public policy boot camp. That is it. So look up these.
One is getting completed.
Yes. What is very nice is to basically see that there is a search for an alternative way of living. And yoga is the binding, the worldview of yoga is that which provides us this larger framework. So with these words, I would like to say thank you very much, Malaji. Your session has been extremely, what I would say, practical and profound for our participants. And people will have access to these videos on all the Indica Yoga forums on the internet. So you have indicayoga.com, which is the website. You can get an overview of the different programs that are coming up there. You have all the videos there. You have them on Indica Yoga Facebook page. You have them also on Indica Yoga YouTube channel. So all this information is there for free for everybody, because the idea of this festival is to celebrate our collective wellness. So the source motivation is coming from an idea of abundance. There is no competition in this. In this world, we are all collaborators. We are all collaborators of positive vibrations, of greater well-being for all of us. So with these words, Malaji, it has been a great pleasure to have you here. So we have in the evening, I'll start telling you about in the evening, we have a conversation with Rukmini Vijay Kumarji, who's the artist of this fantastic, mesmerizing video that we've been seeing on Namami Yoga Vidya, and we'll try and understand the rationale behind it. So we'll be in conversation with Sai Shravanamji, who's the music director, Dr. Rajkumar Bharati ji, who's the music composer, and Vivian Ambrosji, who's the director of photography. I mean, all of these are subtle, I mean, they're important elements that enrich, that enhance the overall effect of that. And we've been talking of the mother since morning, Mother Anandamayi, Shri Anandamayi Ma. Here we've connected with the mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram in different ways. And at night we will have a little more exposure to the mother of this entire knowledge tradition. So Yoga Vidya becomes Yoga Vidye. To that mother, a salutation, and we'll watch that. Please stay with us because Malaji will have a last words for you. So Malaji, we'd love to invite you to share your thoughts, your parting thoughts, the takeaway message for our audience.
My takeaway message is just one liner: connect with your heart and live from your heart. I think that's the only hope for humanity together.
So with these words, I request all of you to maybe just do a gesture of namaste at your heart, and we'll end with an Om Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, everyone. Dhanyavada.